we say a special good morning to our listeners, those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Good Thursday morning. Our listeners, once again, good morning to you, especially those of you by our social media platforms. Good morning, the YouTube channel, the Facebook page. Good morning to you. Our viewers via GBN TV, whether it's channels 7, 11 or channels 20. Good morning and welcome to another edition of To The Point. I'm your host, GT. And this morning with me, we have, of course, various departments from the Royal Grenada Police Force with us this morning. You know, we usually entertain the Royal Grenada Police Force on a Thursday morning. And with this morning, I will remember the female detective's name, Detective Francis, but I'll get the other gentleman's name, officer's name, I should say, in between. Let's go over and say good morning to everyone and welcome. Good Thursday morning and season greetings to everyone.
Pleasant morning. It's always a pleasure being here, and we've met on a few occasions. So
yes,
yeah, it's always nice having those encounters. It's important that we continue to educate our public. So I'm grateful for this opportunity again. I'm Wickham, Corporal Wickham from the CID.
All right, Corporal Wickham. I hope I gotta stick that name in there. Stick that name somewhere. Yeah, Corporal Wickham.
That's a name that should have been stuck in.
I know. Welcome once again. And of course, I'm thinking it's the first time I'm having this officer with us this morning. And give us your name and of course let us know.
All right. Good morning to you and good morning to the listening public. I am Keddy Victor, and I'm also attached to the Criminal Investigation Department.
All right.
Yes.
Well, welcome. Our conversation this morning, of course, we're going to be talking. We into the season, the Christmas season, and it's not only for the Christmas season, but crime has no season. So I heard someone actually mention that, and I think it's crime has no season. It can happen anytime. But most of the time it's prevalent around this time of the year. For some reason, the other, individuals think, well, maybe I could increase what I do a little bit more for some reason or the other. We're going to be sharing a lot of information this morning, tidbits and so forth, that will help individuals, especially for homeowners, businesses, you understand. From the Special Victim Units, Detective Francis with us this morning. For those of you who will be going to various events, ways in which you can protect yourself and so forth, we're going to be sharing that information this morning. Let's kick it off this morning in terms of property crime. I'm not sure which one the officers want to get in on that, but It's around the time of the year when individuals may feel I want to prey on an individual's business or property for some reason, to for whatever reason that they may want to for reason of getting themselves some sort of whatever the business have. You understand? Let's kick it off with some tips this morning that are probably gonna derail individuals from wanting to do that, because individuals may be protecting their property or their businesses in some way or the other that could derail individuals from that. Who's going to chime in on that in terms of, let's kick it off with some tips this morning first and foremost.
Okay, so first I would say it's the Yuletime season, and at this time of the year what we find is a lot of busyness. People busy, people buying stuff, business owners, homeowners, and everybody focuses really and truly on the festive season, and they're preparing for the festive season. A lot of the times what we see is that they drop their guard because business places have so much things on display that they put it out. Homeowners, a lot of the times they purchase stuff and they just go home with it. And some of the things we want to make persons know is that, okay, it's not wrong to do these things, but there's a way in which you should do it. Probably when you walk in the street, how you should carry your purse, how you should carry your bag. These things are some of the things we want to get out to the public this morning.
Yeah, because it may not have happened to you before, and a lot of people get a bit complacent with themselves because they live in a particular area or may feel, well, I've been living here for 20 years, and nothing has never happened, but there's always a times will change. And always the option of it being conspicuous of individuals who may be visiting your surroundings that or your property that you may not have known about. How information would you like to share about that?
Well, it is evident that persons get complacent at times, and when you look at some of the reports that comes in and you look at the general circumstances, it is in fact a case where persons let their guard down, they become negligent one way or the other because of whatever level of comfort they have within their community. Leave their house open, leave their gates open and so forth, and sometimes persons who are even close to them assisting in the land work, I'm not telling you to just mistrust the people that are within your circle, but the fact is you have to pay attention to what is valuable to you and put things in place to ensure that they're properly secured, because there are instances where you let your guard down and, persons right next door, young guys that come from one village, but they lime around, with other youths in your community, and they just wait for the opportunity. The opportunity presents itself. You're home, they notice that you left your vehicle unlocked. They notice you left your home unlocked, and they enter for their own personal gain, regardless of how safe you think your community is. It is important that if you park your vehicle, you lock your vehicle, despite it is in your yard. Even if you go to a neighbor, you go to a little function down the road, it is still prudent that you lock your house, that you secure your compound properly. So we shouldn't take it for granted. Now is a time where it is realistic, it is obvious that those property crime, it keeps coming back. And in fact, it's increasing to an extent. So we can't take it for granted and just accept that I'm in a safe community. Do what is necessary to ensure that you safeguard your belongings, your valuables.
All right. Now, in terms of the tips that we throw out this morning, who is it? Of course, you would like to be specific about individuals. People, especially, is it individuals who live alone? People, I mean, it can happen to, of course, who have numerous families, who have numerous individuals in the family also. We understand that. But is there a particular cast of individuals within a particular community that you would like to express that information to, in terms of maintaining that the security aspect of their property and so forth? I mean, we're not even going to the business yet, but we're talking to that regular house owner. No, you understand?
But generally speaking, you see, crime doesn't just connect to one set of people. You see, it's where the opportunity presents.
It's understandably so. It doesn't mean because nobody want to target you. You understand?
I might be living alone, but because of how I carry myself, because of how I function, because of what I stand for, and how I secure my premises and so on, criminals who know me, they have criminal intent. They might just hold their peace because they know what I stand for, despite I'm living alone. And sometimes you might have a family with a number of persons, and despite it might look like, hey, you have more persons living there, so the likelihood is that no one would venture. But sometimes, based on their practice, based on some of the things that they do, they look at the vulnerabilities, and because the vulnerabilities exist, they realize the opportunity is there. Despite there are a number of people living in this house, the fact is they're not a lot. They're sort of irresponsible. They leave their place unattended, unsecured, and so forth. Then, despite there are a number of persons, they would actually, take that opportunity because the opportunity is there. So you see, it comes back to opportunity. It comes back to vulnerability and so forth. So persons need to pay attention to details. Need to pay attention to some of the things that influence, attract the criminal minds.
All right. What are some ways you would say that individual?
Just to add to what he's saying, I don't know if you realize that he's using the word opportunity over and over. And in order for crime to happen, there really and truly has to be three elements. Right?
Yes.
You have to have there got to be a desire for the crime. Somebody have to have the desire for the crime to happen. They have to have the ability to successfully commit that crime, and there must be the opportunity.
Yes.
In law enforcement, we refer to it as a crime triangle, because that's how the crime completes. And we can't control the first two, which is the ability of the person and the desire of the person. But what we can do as police officers and as the public is make it harder for the crime to commit. So what we try to do is to eliminate the opportunity. And that's why we're here, so we can give persons the tips on how they can make it harder for a crime to be committed, to eliminate the possibility. Let's say, for example, you're living in your home and you like your flowers and so on, so you have your flowers growing and so on, but you have it growing very high, and you may be able,
somebody else like that flowers too, right?
Right. Somebody else might be able to just use that flower tree as a way to get into your house, or a way to hide themselves. So in a case like that, I would tell the person, just cut your flowers a bit lower, so you can actually see it. So these are the things we're trying to get them this morning to persons, to make them know that in order, you cannot really prevent the crime from happening, but what you can do is put things in place to make it harder for a crime to take place.
And when you say prevention of the crime, or preventing the opportunities, what are some ways an individual could prevent that particular individual from, preying on them?
Well, let's say homeowners, since that's where we really focus on at the moment. You have valuables. One, you can invest in burglar bars. That's one. You can fence your property if you can afford. And in fact, security comes with a cost. And we need to accept the fact.
Yes.
And our peace of mind, our safety, and the safety of our valuables we can't put any price to it. So despite security come with a cost, we have to remember what we're securing. Our peace of mind is of utmost importance. Our life is of utmost importance. We can't put a value to that. So the reality is we need to make sacrifices and implement some of those things. You can include lights at night, so you may have be it a constant light throughout the night, or you want to have those sensor lights that comes on periodically based on motion and so forth. You can invest in those things. You can invest in alarm system, in terms of door entry, window entry. The fact is, those things are available now. You just go online and you purchase those things, and you basically, have those things implemented. It is not difficult to, acquire those things now. Back, a couple of years back, that was always this kind of probably, it appears like only the people at the very top.
That's what certain stature in life could afford it.
But right now, these things are really available to practically anyone that has a decent enough job to, obtain funds to make the necessary purchase. So these are some of the things that we can actually look into. Now, you can also have good rapport with neighbors, whereby your neighbors could actually throw an eye out for you. These things are important because, you see, it comes back to community policing and so on, and it is not just about the police and you as a homeowner, but it's also about you as a homeowner and another homeowner, that you all share that responsibility to safeguard and look out for each other. You may have surveillance system implemented. That surveillance system may not just help you, but it might also help your neighbor. And we have to embrace the reality that we need to look out for each other, because you helping solve this particular crime, even though it is not connected to you, even though you were not the victim, it brings that peace to the community. We were able to assist the police by our surveillance, and the community now knows that the problem was solved, know that the person is held accountable. Then they have confidence in law enforcement. And then they have a peace of mind because, despite what the police is dealing with the matter, the police was successful. And in the long run, what we cannot pay for is a peace of mind. The value of it is so great. And we eliminate the fear of crime because why? We have solutions. We have solving rate, at an high. And solving rate being at an high becomes a deterrent, because now the criminal minds know, wow, all them guys who I know down the road are doing that, they get caught. All of them, they go into prison. They're being fined. They're being held accountable. So then that in itself is a deterrent.
But folks may also chime in and say, times has changed. Sometimes they're not that neighborly love that used to pre-exist before.
And it's sad.
You understand?
It's really sad.
It's not that love. Neighbors may not always be looking out for their neighbors and so forth as they used to. I mean, as you said, it's sad that it's happening. You understand? Because sometimes neighbors are noticing things happen and never tell you anything.
And that's what, you see, there are instances where we see these things happening. Persons would indicate here, I know this happened, I saw this, but I don't want to give no statement. I don't want to come forward.
Me and my neighbor ain't friends.
Me and my neighbor, we're not cool like that. And you actually have these things happening, but what we don't pay attention to, we're fostering the furtherance of those crimes. Even though we're not directly involved, even though we didn't commit the crime. But the fact that we have what it takes to bring resolution, to assist law enforcement, and we're withholding it, that criminal mind knows, here what, I can continue. They feel more empowered because they actually get away. So they feel more empowered, and they may even recruit other persons to even join them because they realize it is a success. But when we partner, when we embrace that union to work together and support, we solve the crimes, one, and with the crimes being solved, the criminal minds know, here what, they are a force to reckon with, so that becomes a deterrent. And it could reduce the crime. And automatically, as the crime is being reduced, you have a peace of mind. You know, persons can live better and more comfortable and so forth.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take our first break, and of course, in this segment, folks, we're coming right back. Stay with us. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 14th of December. We'll be right back.
National Lotteries Authority is a proud sponsor of many cultural activities within the Tri-Island state of Grenada.
My name is Anderson Matheson, also known as Leftis, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carrico. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carrico and Pitamatin Carnival, the Carrico String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
We home for Christmas for 2 T20 internationals at the Grenada National Stadium on Thursday, December 14th and Saturday, December 16th. Locals get 50% off regular match tickets, plus an extra 20% off when you buy your tickets online. Visit windiescricket.com for more info.
Hello everyone, here is an invitation to join me this and every Sunday until December 17th on GBN Television and K105 FM from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. for Yuletide Sundays. Great music, gifts, and all the wonderful things of Christmas. Yuletide Sundays comes to you compliments Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices, Grenville Credit Union, Gittins Healthcare, and Clear Vision Eye Center.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 14th of December. With me this morning, we have, of course, various departments within the Royal Grenada Police Force with us this morning. We want to speak to the Detective Francis, who's been quietly listening to us speaking for a week, but we want to talk about special victims within, this particular time of the year. And, individuals going out to various events. We got cricket on today and so forth. Individuals may be attending. There's events that'll be coming up over the weekend and for the next couple of weeks going through up until Christmas. Now, what are some tips you'd like to go out, especially to youngsters, even not only youngsters, but individuals and in general? The younger folks, females especially, around this time of the year, what are some of the concerns that may come around, and tips that you may have thrown in terms of them preventing themselves becoming victims?
Okay, good morning, GT.
Good morning.
So in relation to the Special Victims Unit, we have some general safety tips, preventative tips that could make persons become a hard target against sexual crimes and other crimes also. So we have tips, partying tips. We term it as partying smart.
Yeah.
So during the Yuletide season, there is a lot of partying, persons going to events, socializing. So we advise persons to stick with friends. Do not go there alone. Go in maybe 2 or 3 persons or in a group. Before going, maybe you can make a plan as to checkpoints that, we go in, but after the event, we congregating here so that all of us could go home together safely. So while there you might be drinking alcohol, we advise you to hold on to your drinks. Even if you have to go to the bathroom with your drinks, don't
leave it unattended.
Yes. If your drink is out of your sight for just a few seconds and you return, discard it. Maybe get a new drink. If, however, you continue to drink that said drink and it's tasting kind of strange, tasting different, discard it. Do not continue drinking that drink. Don't accept drink from anyone unless you watch the bartender pour it in a glass for you. Persons might come and say, here's a drink, but you didn't see the process as to how the drink got in the cup or anything like that. It's so simple for somebody to just put something there, and before you know it, you don't know yourself, you don't know where you are. Don't share drinks with persons also. Some of the events you might have like punch bowls or drinks in bottles or containers, mixed drinks. Do not drink from those items. Try to avoid clubs or places where men are in charge. As we say, when women go to parties, or we might have women free. Sometimes when you go to those events, the men might figure that, she come here free, so maybe we could do what we want with her. We
as men here may take you to task with that, right? Because you will say, well, don't go to events where men are in charge. Yeah. Maybe you want to expand on that a little bit.
So, you have some events like women free before so and so thing. So most likely the cost is on the men. Yeah. Sometimes you have some men that have the ideology that, she come in here free and I pay, so I could do what I want with her. All
right.
Necessarily.
Under those circumstances, that is understandable.
Men that think that way.
I understand where you're coming from. It is something that can be talked about in detail and kind of debatable. But from a law enforcement standpoint, I understand clearly as to.
I certainly do understand where she's coming. I was just trying to tickle her mind a little bit.
It may not necessarily be on a mass production that all the men within that circle, function that way. But there are instances where you have persons within that circle that think or that they can prey on a female because they are the ones that paid to go in the event and the ladies came in free. So there are instances where some men, especially when they under the influence, they have that extra boost that drive, and they basically force themselves.
I understand, but you see that you could also be a deterrent for a particular event happening also if the mindset is centered around that.
What I'm saying,
prudent to just sort of it may not necessarily be like a mass production type, but there are instances where you have individual males within these circles that feel they can
all right,
it's okay to do that. So persons should just be mindful of these circumstances, and if a male actually start preying on you in a circumstance like that, it's important to draw back to your friends. You let them know, look, this is what I encountered when I went by the bar. This gentleman start, pushing on me, like, and you start sharing that with your friends, so your friends now, become aware as to the general circumstance. You might now just be encouraged to leave, and get into a safe zone or something to that effect.
After you wanted to say something on that?
No, just saying realistically, if we look at a lot of the shows, parties that are organized, most of the time is men usually
male dominated to a point.
Exactly. Even you look at birthday bash when some people have it, a lot of times you look at it, are male, and male are usually dominated in these things and them.
All right.
Right. So once you say we male are in charge, we speak more to these kind of events.
All right.
Right.
You mentioned something, Detective Francis, when you said attend an event with lots of friends. But what if a female has minimal friends or no friends at all, and she decides, well, I want to go to a particular event? What kind of advice would you show out to that particular female? Because most time there are women who go out on their own.
Yes.
Not all every woman has tons of friends.
Advise that woman to maybe keep her cell phone charged at all times. You never know when you meet up in a situation where you need to call someone for help.
All right.
Okay. Also, maybe you could make calls to persons that are not there as to where you are, who you with. So they know your exact location. All
right. What about the vulnerability aspect of it also? Individuals making themselves vulnerable, especially females that are becoming a victim.
Well, I'll advise any female to don't make yourself a prey. You understand? If you need to go there alone, or you feel that if you find anything is off, get to a safe zone. You understand? Because you're making yourself vulnerable in circumstances. It don't necessarily mean that something gonna happen to you, but you have to be vigilant out there.
All right. I mean,
don't walk in dark places. Walk in well lit places. Do not pass in alleys where somebody maybe could come and attack you or block you or try something with you.
All right.
What's also critical, as much as possible, trying to ensuring that you're not intoxicated to the extent that you cannot make sound judgment. That's really critical. So be it female or male, because male fall victim to these things as well. Right. Some just may not come forward to disclose certain things, but it happens. So it's important that you try, whether it is alcohol or drugs, whatever you choose, just ensure that you're not at a point where you cannot make some judgment.
I think we do have a listener who probably wants to chime in and ask a question or two. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Good morning. No, I was out. I just came in, turned on the radio, and I've heard the advice that young lady is given to all other young ladies. I do hope that young ladies in particular would be listening to something like this and would take advice. And I'm saying this because I was looking at a Perry Mason movie just recently, and a guy was a target. The waiter brought, I think it's champagne, whatever drink it was, and he said, first of all, he inquired, who is at the door? Okay, room service. He said, well, I didn't know. He said, well, all right, this is the custom here. Whereas the guy was set up, he had a vial with some poisonous substance, opened the drink, the guy turned his back and go inside. Not for long, just for a few seconds. And the drink was poisoned. So there are a lot of things that might sound foolish, stupid, or some people might be figuring, well, look at how they could think, but it is not so. The world has changed dramatically these days, and in particular with young people. So I'm glad, and I want to compliment that lady on the advice that she has given her peers. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. And definitely a great comment there from the caller.
Excellent.
Can anyone respond?
Well, just to in relation to the question you asked, if a young lady wants to go out on her own, and she decides, well, okay, that's what she wants to do, be out on her own. Ms. Francis would have said it earlier on, that you should have a plan.
Yes.
And probably part of the thing your plan should involve is how you get in there and how you getting back. Because that's one of the things young ladies sometimes decide, I'm going to that show and somehow have to get a right to come back home. So probably one of the things you could make sure you organize before going there is make sure that you know I'm speaking to John or whoever, and that would be the person picking me up from the party. So they know how they getting home from the party, so they could avoid all the walk-in lit places, avoid alleys, don't speak to strangers, because I don't really need anybody. I come here to have my time, I'm going to have my time, and I'm going back home. That's one of the things.
All right.
Yes.
Let's entertain another caller before we move on. Caller, good morning, welcome. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome.
Good morning. I'm just calling to give an advice for whoever it is that driving. Don't even leave your car a little crack on the window. The window is just a little crack, and go anyway. 2 weeks ago, I went to the beach. I had a little crack, just so that air could get into the car. And when I came back, somebody broke in the car. They forced that glass, just a little crack, forced it down. Cost me, I had to take it to the garage. Cost me over $200 to get it fixed because they mashed up the door. So I'm just warning people out there, not even a little crack on your window to leave open, especially nowadays. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for that. There. Let's move on with our conversation this morning. We spoke about the special victims. We want to go back in terms of property crimes once again, and this time we dealt a lot with homeowners. Let's speak a wee bit on the business owners right now. As we said, folks, U-type season, folks maybe you may have customers that will be visiting your business for whatever reason. They may be a bit more upscale in the monies that have been spent on your business. What are some advice you would like to offer to business owners this morning in terms of to protect themselves and their property also?
To business owners, the very first thing we'd want to say to business owners is as it relates to the security cameras. In fact, recently the Criminal Investigation Department had met with a number of business owners, and that's one of the things that we are really trying to implement. Try our best to get all business owners to implement security cameras in their business places. We see some cameras set up sometimes, but what we notice sometimes the quality is poor, and apart from the quality being poor, sometimes the way they are positioned, it doesn't really help, because a lot of the times you would find as though business owners still have certain things on showcase, and whatever is on showcase is blocking the camera. So that's one of the things we want to urge business owners to get into, security cameras. As it relates to closing and opening, if you have a particular time of closing and opening, a lot of times we see business owners probably just go in and open it by themselves. So probably you can go there with some company. Right. Some time ago we had a case where a lady would have opened her business place, and there was a guy just waiting there, and as she opened, he walked in, he took her money and he ran away. And that's one of the things we're trying to avoid. It's the Christmas season now, and we know a lot of times the turnovers are probably a little bit faster. For business owners who close late at nights and you close by yourself, probably you could get a security company to assist you in probably transferring your monies to and from wherever you'd be going, or a police officer. And as Officer Wickham was saying earlier, it may come with a cost, but then you think about it and weigh the difference. If somebody come in and rob you, at the end of the day, you lose more than what you would have been paying to keep it secure.
That's so true. There's that old security approach that folks still follow through. If you get my direction where I'm going, maybe 40 years ago you had an old burglar bar that used to work for you, but these things don't work anymore for some reason or the other. Because as times change, criminals will improvise. You understand? Learn new strategies and ways of getting these things. And the world has presented itself so much now that they could easily go to a YouTube channel and watch how to do these things. You understand? How to burglarize your house, and it's just been shown. You understand? So as you mentioned a while ago, business owners have to modernize their way of security. Modernize their way of security. What's your take on that?
I agree 100%, and for me, I'm always an advocate for technology, because if we don't go with the program, we'll get left, and we cannot get left as a country in a time like this, because every other country is moving forward. You understand? And what happens is that the criminal minds here, we adapt we learn, we capture certain things that are happening outside there, and we implement it. The guys now are going on YouTube. They learn how to make their own guns. They learn how to, disassemble camera that are set up and all this. So these guys actually go on YouTube and they learn all these things. So the fact that they're doing those stuff, it means they're up in the game as to how to counteract law enforcement and so forth within our space here. We need to stay ahead. We must stay ahead, and we as law enforcement can stay ahead by ourselves. The country have to be ahead. So the general public need to understand the importance we moving forward with respect to technology and so forth as well. So because we all have our part to play as one unit. It is imperative that we invest in the surveillance and have proper backup system, because what we notice now, for example, with respect to the same technology, people can only save information for a couple of days, a week, some a month max. And when you really look at it, if you're saving this information for practically a week, sometime by the time it become aware that some surveillance would have been captured and so on, sometimes it cannot be found after a couple of days, and that's really bad. Now, if you invest, security comes with a cost, as I would always keep saying, but if you invest properly in technology, you'll have proper system that can hold data for a longer period. In addition to that, certain data you can download it, send it, you change the format and you email it to yourself. So you might have a video, you may send it on cloud. You have a few different things that can be implemented, but you're doing that for your personal safety as well as the safety of others.
What about the aspect of, we always notice what has become a way where we find a lot of folks have their do-it-yourself security system, and what you advise to the individuals of that nature, buying security system, what you think they can do it themselves, because yes, I understand folks may have a level that they're literate enough to understand how to do things, but would you encourage folks of getting things done on a professional level before, because sometimes how it's installed, a simple individual can have it detached, and you understand where I'm coming from.
Despite it is a good initiative to try and set up things, the reality is when you try to set up these things yourself, sometimes after the fact, when you really need the information, you realize, but it wasn't stored.
Yeah.
So you might have the surveillance running, but because you do it yourself, you don't even understand what connection have to be made, and you realize all you're just doing is just viewing, but you're not recording. And sometimes it is just because you don't have that actual knowledge and skills to do the work properly. It may just cost you a little change, but if you call the experts, they can come in, set it up properly for you. In fact, they may even recommend some of the best type, because can you imagine, you take on your own, you buy certain things, and then when you implement it, as the old school TV rice grain, that's what the surveillance look like. Does it really make sense? And sometimes it's just because you saw it cheap on a particular site, and you're like, let me grab this. I'm going to set up this camera, but I'm getting it cheaper here. I'll take it. But because it's cheaper, doesn't necessarily means
it's better.
It is. You understand? Now, if you check the experts, they can help you in sourcing good quality cameras. It may cost you a little extra to have them, hook it up for you, and they can also monitor it for you.
So, because they do have security company that offer you that off-site monitoring and so forth. Yes.
So from a business perspective, when you look at it that way, you're much safer. There is a better guarantee that you'll get a better product, a better result from seeking the experts.
And just in case something happens, there's always that information is been stored elsewhere that it could be, of course, given to the authorities.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, understandably so. We do for a break. Let's take it. I'm seeing lots of folks are throwing out some questions via our Facebook page. We're probably going to get a couple of those questions. We also invite some calls from our listeners and viewers this morning when we return. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV.
box we say, yeah. GBN we say, arts and culture living, yeah. Rock the box we say. I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box we say. I'm telling you, rock the box, rock the box, rock the box we say. We'll be jamming here on a Thursday.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
We home for Christmas for 2 T20 internationals at the Grenada National Stadium on Thursday, December 14th and Saturday, December 16th. Locals get 50% off regular match tickets, plus an extra 20% off when you buy your tickets online. Visit windiescricket.com for more info.
Everything started has to end, and 2 wrongs can't be correct. Therefore, the relationship should end or be resolved. Realize every action has consequences, so think twice. Realize every action has consequences, so think twice. Realize every action.
On this Christmas episode of Caribbean Passport, there is holiday cheer from Barbados to the Bahamas. We take in the musical talents of the Love Movement, the Carters, and Ray Holman. And of course, our taste buds will be satisfied. All this and more on this holiday edition of Caribbean Passport, right here on this station.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, this morning to The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We're going back to, of course, Detective Francis, and she has loads more in terms of information to share with us, especially for victims who are going out there during the season. We know there are a lot of young people too. We spoke a lot on the female side of things a while ago. What about the aspect of what we say, people, young children and so forth, around this time of day? What kind of advice you want to share with them this morning?
Okay, so in relation to the children, normally it's a very busy time for parents with the shopping, so they might take a chance of leaving a child at home or children at home. So if that's the case, maybe if there is a close neighbor, I could say, well, neighbors, I'm leaving for a little while, the children are home, just throw an eye on them and see what they're doing. Also, we want to advise them that they should speak to the children about the matches and lighter and lighting stuff, because all that could transpire, and before you know it, you have a bad Christmas, your house burned down or something of the sort, or your child getting injured or whatnot. Also, in terms of carrying them in town, like in the hectic time,
yes,
have your child close to you, even that they hold their hand on, or have them in front of you, not shoulder, hands length or whatnot, not further. Also, when bringing them out, maybe show them that is the police station,
All right.
Yeah, focus points. That is way. If your child, maybe for some reason your child get missing or whatnot, or you are walking and you turn around and you don't see them, maybe they could say, well, that is the police station, mommy. Tell me go there if ever we get lost or whatnot. So you have to let your children know that is the police station. If ever you lost, anything happened to you, go there. That is a safe haven.
All right.
I also have some general tips for the men. The previous tips were mainly for women going to events or.
I mean, it'd be hard to say men need tips. You know that,
Yes. So
well, sometimes we do.
I have some tips that could maybe prevent them from being termed as a perpetrator or whatnot.
Right.
So know the limits. if you're dating a female or have a relation, maybe you could ask your date. Nothing wrong in asking questions. Could I do this? Could I do that? Respecting boundaries, of course, because sometimes you might make a request and your lady may not want to go down that road with you.
All right.
So we say you could ask and respect the boundaries that are set. So do not get over your head. You have no right to force anyone to do anything that they don't want to do. Drink responsible, of course. Stay in control of yourself and act responsible and sensible. Sometimes you have too much to drink and that could cloud your judgment, basically.
What about the option of men becoming victims themselves?
Yes, well, it could happen. It goes both ways.
Yes. We had instances in the past where men were victim of sexual violence.
Yes.
They would, and it happens almost the same way. They would say that they went out drinking and so on. They get drunk. They get picked up in the vehicle, and you may sound crazy. You may sound as something. This does not have nothing to do with Grenada, but it happens. So the same tips that she sent out for the women earlier on, men could also take heed. Yeah, because the same thing happens to them.
Yeah.
It's probably not as prevalent, but it happens.
But sometimes it's unlikely to think that a gentleman will get a right from a female and he's been, molested, if you could say it that way.
When you look at what Mr. Victor just said, it's important to note that in these circumstances, the ladies, it's not that they were violated by men, but there are instances where the ladies are the ones that actually force that on the men.
Right.
So the man has been given, well, they're having a nice time, drinks, etc., and they take that man to wherever, and they have their time with him, and he has no clue what's really happening. And then the women boast about it after. They express, whatever it is. So the fact is, it happens. I'm aware of circumstances like that where women prey on men in a similar way, have them intoxicated and take advantage of them. You don't really find the men really coming forward, but there are instances where it was brought to light and it was addressed and so forth.
And I guess that there's always minimal report on that end, especially with men becoming victims, especially of sexual crimes.
Have a tendency to be a bit embarrassed when some of these things happen, especially if he go in that environment without his wife knowing that he actually went there, and now he's more afraid to even bring it forward because in the first place he breached some commitment that he has elsewhere.
All right. I mean, sometimes it does not always lead to the embarrassment of it happening, but there's issues where diseases can occur.
Yeah,
you understand,
right.
and he's now saying because of that particular reason that you understand.
Yeah.
Right.
A big contributor to all of this is alcohol consumption.
Yes.
And we're not telling people not to drink alcohol, but know your limit. Know your limit. Because if we just step back you go to a club, you meet a female, and we've seen this happen a lot of times. And the next day comes now, and the woman realizes, okay, I'm my clear head now, and I'm seeing certain things different with me, I'm feeling certain things different with me, and I didn't give anybody permission to do that. This was done while I was under the influence of alcohol. The offense has committed.
Right.
So we want people to be mindful of that. Know your limit when it comes to alcohol, because alcohol is a contributor for almost every offense.
All right.
Once someone's mind is impaired, then they just think they can do almost anything.
All right. Yeah. I have a question from someone who's on our Facebook page this morning, and they're saying, they know it's a season and stuff, like people are going out at late hours, but the question that they're asking, do you think that we need more police in uniform on the streets? Plus, do you think that the police officers should carry their full armor? Like, she's more referring to what it's like in the North American sort of environment. Instead of the police walking with that little baton, she's saying, as a form of security, as a security officer in some of the department stores and so forth. I wonder if you get the direction in the question that she's asking.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think on a whole we need more law enforcement in Grenada based on what we're faced with, and would believe that the authorities believe the same thing. Unfortunately, we don't have the number that we may wish to have, because the amount of work that is really required to be done to satisfy and ensure that our public is safe and so on. In my observation, I don't think we have sufficient officers. Now, with respect to gears and so forth, what I can tell you is that I know that the authorities are putting things in place to ensure that we always have what is necessary. We may not have it all at the moment, but these are things that they are working, tirelessly to ensure that we have proper equipment, proper gears, more officers on the street. I definitely believe that especially in the festive season, we need to have more officers on the street. However, how feasible it is when we need to man the entire country in that time, and we already have a number that we know is not, optimum to really deal with everything. So we still have to, it's a matter of managing our resources, spread it, and at the same time work smart to maximize on, the results that we can actually get, with the limited resources in terms of manpower. My personal view, different persons may vary with different persons. My personal view, in a time like now, the festive season, it could be a risk for every officer on the street to have a gun. Now, the reality is, if something really happens, how can you really shoot in a crowd like that? If it really if the situation requires some level of force to be, exhibited, is it really safe in a time like that? So it's a matter of working smart. Yeah. There are instances where it will be absolute, particularly in the off time where you have operations, etc., and you're required to deal with, violent crimes and so forth. Then it's absolute that you're properly equipped. But going to a festive season and every officer on the ground have gone in a crowd like that, now there are a number of factors we have to consider, because that now poses another risk. Yeah. Because you have to ensure that this officer has proper holster. Yeah. That officer understands and pays attention to details, because the crowd, he can be, is it that he has to ensure that he's not alone, because he could be ambushed and that firearm could be taken. There are a lot of different things we need to... I
understand there are a lot of factors that comes around with it.
I understand the person's point. I think it's an excellent point. And we embrace that. And these are things that we actually, think of in strategic planning and so forth. But baton alone, I agree with that person that a baton alone is definitely not sufficient for any police officer to function with out there. Right. Police officers should be equipped properly, have, the baton, they may have the mace, they have proper handcuff and, all these other things that they can subdue people quickly, properly, and get them out of, those crowded areas as swiftly as possible. Shortest route out from the crowd to a safe zone and so forth. So I embrace this, but on a holistic scale, manpower, I definitely believe that the police force need more persons. At the same time, you must go through proper process to ensure that you get the best persons joining the force, because at the same time, we don't want to just embrace every person that come forward, and then we don't have the best team, and therefore we cannot provide the best service. Right. And then it becomes a problem, because we're not satisfying the general public, because we don't have the best team on hand.
All right. Sometimes we listen to the question again, but sometimes you cannot waive the comparison always to a North American society, to a Canadian society. So sometimes we misconstrue it a wee bit in terms of waiving the comparison. What the crimes that may occur in a North American society.
And that's a very, very important point to drive forward, because while police police presence may be of paramount importance.
Yeah,
now.
it could be a deterrence also.
Yes, but just the presence alone may be good enough. But to say a full body armor and so on, probably one of the things you have to look at here is the type of crimes that's happening, or you'd see police officers with full body armor, and the type of crimes they have happening in Grenada.
Yes.
I mean, of course, right now we see a change in trend to our crimes, but are we at that stage?
Yes.
To have an officer out there with a full body armor for the length of hours you have to be out there for and so on. So it is a very good point, and it's probably a futuristic way to look at it.
And we will so. Well, we have approximately 2 minutes now, so we could probably get into some closing comments from everyone in terms of, start with, of course, Detective Francis. I'd like to start with her. In terms of, can you give us, of course, some closing comments that could continue to, just inform those victims of that way to get them, not to get themselves into any situation that could put them in a compromising position, as we move through the Utah season.
Okay, so I'd like to urge our viewers, both men and women, we said a lot of preventative tips against sex crimes, sexual violence. I hope that everyone keeps it in practice while they're out during the festive season. So we want to ensure that these tips are heard, listened, and also taken in action, used as measures to protect themselves, making them a hard target for this Yuletide season against sexual violence and other crimes.
Detective would come.
Just in closing, I wish to bring to light this particular point with respect to property crime in particular. One of the things that we would have seen, there are a lot of juveniles committing property crime, and a lot of young persons, just a little over, young adults, basically just a little over the 18 years. But generally, you see a lot of juveniles, and there are different reasons for that. One of the major factors we would have observed in interviews and encounters with them and so forth, poor parenting. That is a major factor. Parents need to understand that they have a primary responsibility and function to teach the children properly, grow the children properly. Your child could be influenced by peers, and I understand that. However, you have an integral role to play in the proper upbringing of your child. And I must also add, the parents that are justifying the children's conduct, they need to stop it. Your children are stealing, your children are doing all different kind of crime, committing all different type of crimes. And when the police come with proper authority to execute the such warrants and so forth, you want to stop them from coming in your house after they explain everything. You need to understand that your child has committed a crime, and you teach your child by complying. You did it. The police is here on proper authority, or you're suspected of doing it. The police is here with proper authority. They have a search warrant. They explain it. Leave the police. Let the police do their work. Don't jump in front of the police and cuss and show this negative and bad conduct to your child, because what it does, it fosters the child to continue. It encourages the child to become more demonized in the criminal mind. We need to stop that as parents, and we admonish parents to stop. You're only cultivating a greater disaster for the country when you do that. In addition, I just want to encourage the general public to continue with the partnership with the police. I believe community policing works, and I want to encourage us all to, continue in that union to support each other and give the support when called upon by the police for our assistance. Thank you very much. Excellent.
All right, for me, I just want to close and leave a few tips again for persons and personal property, and something to business owners as well. Right now, as we see the festive season, the place has a lot of, it's bustling with traffic. And in carrying your personal belongings, sometimes we kind of careless about it. What we find a lot around this time is pickpocketing and so on. You might find just somebody just bump into you. A few minutes later, you check for your wallet and so on, your purse, and it's gone. So to men who, we like carrying our wallets in our back pocket. So probably when you're in a crowd or so on, just shove it in your front pocket.
Yes.
To the ladies outside there, the fancy bags and so on, they may hold swinging in their hand or under their shoulder and so on. Probably make sure that you have a zip on it. You carry it. If it doesn't have a zip, carry it at the front of you. Something we notice now that's been in circulation is, and it usually happens around almost all festive seasons, are counterfeit coins.
Okay.
We term it counterfeit coins, but it's not really a coin. That's just how it is termed.
Okay.
Right. We see a lot of that in circulations around this time. And something we have seen recently is US. It's not a counterfeit, but it's not a real money. It is usually used for in movies and in videos and so on.
Props.
So I'm asking persons to be very mindful of inspecting cash whenever they collect it, because the US that I'm speaking about, it looks really genuine.
Okay.
But you'd have to look on it because there are certain features in it you'd be able to tell, well, it is not a genuine money. But if somebody just handed it to you in a busy time, you may just take it and give them back the change. So at the end of the day, you lose your product and you just give them some monies as well.
Right.
So I just want to implore on business owners and persons conducting maybe even sidewalk business and so on to inspect the cash that is being paid to you, because we've seen these a lot of these US monies recently and they look very genuine. So I just want to implore on them to be very safe. And as we come to the close, as you say, I just want to thank the listening public and wish them a safe and secure Yuletide season.
All right. I want to thank you, officers, also for being on with this morning and for sharing the information that you shared. Certainly hope the listening and viewing audience did absorb it a whole lot and put into practice some of what was said. Thanks once again, and all the best. If we don't see you again until all the best for the season.
Same to you.
All right. Hey, folks, that's how we take a wrap for today's program Up to the Point. Join me again for another edition tomorrow. That's where we say goodbye.